Every Thanksgiving, millions of cooks hit the panic button and it rings straight to Butterball. They help serve about 15 million turkeys every year. And when things get dicey in the kitchen, the Turkey Talk Line saves the day.
The most ridiculous story that we have heard here at the Butterball Turkey Talk Line is the dad that was trying to help out. He had the kids in the bathtub and he put the turkey in the bathtub to thaw.
I'm joined by a veteran who's been answering those frantic calls for 10 years. She's spilling her best tips, the biggest mistakes to avoid, some of the wildest, craziest stories and questions they've ever heard, and one myth-busting fact that is going to blow your mind. You know that little pop-up thermometer? Yeah, it lies. So listen up, we're talking turkey, we're having a great time, and I promise it's going to make that Thanksgiving meal even better.
At Mariano's, we love how every product has a story, and some of the best stories come from right here in Chicago.
That's why we started We Love Local. It's our way of shining a light on small businesses and farmers and food makers who pour their hearts into what they do.
When you see a local item on our shelves, you know you're supporting someone's dream and keeping our community strong.
From family recipes passed down for generations to brand new ideas born in neighborhood kitchens, We Love Local brings those stories to your table. Because when local thrives, we all do.
Mariano's is a proud sponsor of the Supper with Sylvia podcast.
So excited to welcome Andrea Balitewicz to our Supper with Sylvia podcast. Andrea, how are you?
Hi, Sylvia. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm great here at the Butterball Turkey Talk Line. I'm in the test kitchen and I'm ready to talk turkey.
Okay, can I just tell you, you are a lifesaver. Over the years, one of our favorite things to do, and I've worked at 5 different TV stations, and every year we have to talk to somebody from the Butterball hotline. And so excited to have you on my podcast because it's amazing to me how people really need your help on Thanksgiving Day. How many calls do you guys get on Thanksgiving alone? Do you have any idea?
Well, there's so many. We've been talking turkey since 1981, and we kind of figured out that we have talked to over 1 million consumers.
Wow.
And just thousands over that month of November. And as the season gets closer to Thanksgiving and panic starts to set in, even more calls, just thousands of calls.
Okay, so before we get into some of those calls, because if my memory serves me right, there's some pretty fun phone calls that come in. I want to start with, how does one become a Butterball Turkey hotline expert? Tell us about your journey to where you got to today, because this is your 9th season.
Yes, this is my 9th season. Mm-hmm. And really, it starts with a passion for cooking and a passion for helping others. I started cooking at a really young age. And I was teaching cooking classes through my 4-H club. And I just really enjoyed teaching others and having them discover the culinary expertise that I had. I took that through college, have a culinary business degree, and worked at several companies where I was doing recipe development and product testing and teaching cooking classes. And that's what many of the people here at the Butterball Turkey Talk Line, we all have a passion for food, and we all have some kind of culinary degree. We have about 50 men and women that man the talk line over November and December. And we have chefs, we have registered dietitians, we have food stylists, culinary professionals, and that's what people call for to get our expertise.
Wow. So I'm looking at your background. You've worked for Kraft. You've worked for Pampered Chef. So you really do have that culinary background. What is it, though, about working for Butterball, especially when it's so significant to so many people, not only from traditions and generations of eating that turkey, but also of using that hotline to get the help? What is it about this that's so much fun for you and that makes it so special?
Yes. So getting those calls and talking to consumers one-on-one, giving them that compassion, that understanding. And it's so great to get the call where they think they're going to get an automated service. And then they realize that you're a real live person and that you have some culinary expertise. And they are just blown away They love asking us questions. And they always say, well, since I have you on the phone, can I ask you also about my stuffing or my side dishes? It's just that personal connection that you can't get unless you call the Butterball Turkey Talk line.
I love it. Okay, so if you are giving an amateur one single tip to make sure that they get their turkey right, what's the one thing that everyone absolutely must do?
So you absolutely must go out and get a meat thermometer. That is the only accurate way to know that your turkey is done. And that way you're not overcooking it and making it dry. So if you have a meat thermometer, you know that you can make that turkey perfect.
Okay, but I have made a Butterball turkey many times. I just wait for that little thing to pop up. Is that in itself not good enough? Do you want to have a backup?
Not a pop-up timer. That's definitely not accurate. It's not deep enough into the breast meat, and it can pop in inaccurately. So you definitely want to have a meat thermometer, and you want to test your turkey in a couple of places. When it's done, you can test deep in the breast. You want that to reach 170 degrees for food safety. And then Butterball also recommends deep in the thigh, because that's a different part of the turkey. You want to make sure that also reaches 170 degrees Fahrenheit. And then if you have stuffed the turkey, of course, you want that stuffing to be safe as well. Make sure that you've tested the temperature deep in the stuffing, and that needs to reach 165 degrees Fahrenheit. So you know it's cooked and safe and ready to eat.
Okay, let's go over that again. Well, first of all, breaking news for me. I didn't realize that when that little thermometer pops out, that doesn't necessarily mean it's not ready, right?
No, definitely not. That pop-up timer is not accurate. So you really have to have a meat thermometer that goes deep into the muscle, because that's going to be the last part that reaches the proper temperature. So deep into the breast meat, 170 degrees Fahrenheit. Deep in the thigh, 170 degrees Fahrenheit, and in that stuffing, 165.
Okay, I love that. 3 different steps for our listeners. That's perfect. I'm going to have to go back and listen to this because I haven't had a chance to write it down, but I love it. So there's always a big debate every Thanksgiving about whether marshmallows belong on top of sweet potatoes. What's your take on this? And is this something people also ask you about?
Oh, of course. Those calls come in and they're asking us questions about the turkey, and then they start asking about their side dishes. And really, it's personal preference. I have a sweet tooth, so I love putting the marshmallows on. They get golden brown and crisp and puff up, and it's just a fun treat to have at Thanksgiving. If not everyone likes it, you can make a little design where you just put some of the marshmallows in the center and leave some of the sweet potatoes free of marshmallow on the side. So then you please everyone.
Okay, that is a genius, simple tip. Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
I love that.
And that's
I bet you've got so
here.
much more. Yes, that's what you guys do, right?
Yes.
I love it. And I understand why people are, while I have you on the line anyway, can I ask you about this? Okay, here's something that a lot of people struggle with, and I am one of them. I consider myself a pretty decent cook, but for some reason, I have a really tough time with gravy. Like, I've just never been able to master it. What is it that we need to be doing to make sure that the gravy comes out every time like it's supposed to? What am I doing wrong?
So absolutely, gravy just adds that nice little touch of flavor at the end of so right onto your turkey. So when you have that bite, you get just a delicious taste of all the flavors of that roasted turkey. So the key is to use Butterball's open pan roasting method. And the reason why you want to do that is because the turkey juices are going to rain down into the pan and caramelize on the bottom of the pan. That's going to give you that rich gravy flavor. So don't wash your pan when the turkey is done. Make sure you save all those beautiful golden caramelized juices. We also roast our turkey on a rack. That allows for that heat flow to go underneath the turkey and allows for those juices again to caramelize. So when your turkey is done, take it out of your pan. You're going to set it aside on a cutting board. You can go ahead and cover it with foil and even some clean dish towels. It'll stay hot for so long. I do 30 minutes to an hour so that I have time to make my side dishes and my gravy. So you have your pan here of all your juices. First, you're going to strain all the juices out of the pan, and the fat is going to separate. And I recommend just kind of scooping that fat off because you just want those deep concentrated juices. And then in the pan, you want to deglaze your pan so that you get all the rest of those caramelized bits that are stuck to the pan. So you can just put this pan right on your stovetop, add a little bit of broth, heat it up, scrape all the brown bits, and then you're going to have that nice, rich caramelized flavor. So you can also strain that. So you have your juices, they've been strained. Now here's the step that sometimes people have a little trouble with because it's time intensive and you have to watch it. You're going to make just a simple roux out of butter and flour. And you have to make sure that you're stirring that constantly. So if you have guests at the party and you want to give them a task, put them on making the roux. You're going to start with 1/4 cup of butter and you're going to melt that just in a saucepan. You could do it in your roasting pan, but it's sometimes hard to keep stirring and you could get lumps in your pan. So I like to do it in a saucepan.
Okay.
And then you're going to make sure you get that heated up. You're going to add your flour. And now this is when you have to keep whisking because otherwise you'll start getting lumps in your flour, your roux mixture. So you're going to bring that up. You'll have it simmering a little bit. That activates the flour. You want to make sure you don't have that raw flour taste. Once you have that roux, here's another step that prevents getting the lumpy gravy. You're going to start pouring in some of those turkey juices, but you want to pour them in slowly. So you have somebody constantly whisking that roux and you gently and slowly pour in those juices and keep stirring. And that's going to thicken up quickly. So I always like to have some water, some broth, or even some wine standing by so that you can keep thinning it out as necessary. And that's all you need to do to make that delicious topping for your turkey.
Okay, so you've taught me something because I think what I've done is I think I remembered hearing keep the juices from the pan, and I think I was trying to keep the pan on the stove and do it all there. But you're saying no, take the juices out, take out the fat, and then get that roux going, the butter and what was the other? And water
and flour.
And flour.
So you'll do 1/4 cup of butter and about 3 tablespoons of flour is perfect.
Okay. And then I'm going to, once I get that going, I'm stirring with one hand. I've got my juice already in something like a little pitcher that I can pour it in, and I'm keeping going. And that's the way to make sure it doesn't get lumpy.
Right. Pour it in slowly and keep whisking. That's the trick.
Okay. Very good. I hope I have delicious gravy this year. I will keep you posted, which brings me to this, because sometimes, you've got the plan, the turkey, on average, the turkey will take how many hours, first of all, an average turkey?
Yeah, so Butterball uses a range because everybody's oven is a little bit different. So about an average size turkey is about 15 to 16 pounds. That's going to take about 3 to 3.5 hours. Like I said, Butterball recommends that open roasting pan method, and we roast at an even temperature set the oven for 325 degrees and roast at that same temperature the whole time.
Okay, so I want you to teach myself and my listeners and my viewers about timeline, because it can be overwhelming. Say you're hosting for the first time, say you're hosting for the 25th time, and you have found that all the sides and the turkey being ready, somehow your time management didn't work out. What's the secret to time management on Thanksgiving Day when it comes to having everything ready to go so people can sit down and enjoy that Thanksgiving meal?
Yeah, so definitely the planning is key. And it starts with thawing your turkey. You want to make sure that your turkey is completely thawed before you start roasting it. If it has a little bit of frozen parts in it, it's going to make it take longer, and maybe that's something that you didn't plan for. So you need to plan one full 24-hour day for every 4 pounds of turkey. I like to thaw in the refrigerator on a tray just to catch any drippings and allow for that long time. So if you have a 20-pound turkey, it could take 5 days in your refrigerator because it's 4 pounds for every 24-hour day. Now, once the turkey's thawed, you have 4 days that the meat is still good. So you could start that. We call the Thursday before Thanksgiving National Thaw Your Turkey Day. So you could place it in the refrigerator on that day and it'll be thawed for Thanksgiving. And again, so when you're doing your timing, you want to make sure that you have time for that turkey to rest. So the average size turkey, 3 to 3.5 hours, plus add that half an hour, even an hour for it to rest. That allows the juices to redistribute throughout the meat. It does stay super hot. It makes it so much easier for carving, and the slices won't shred. If it's steaming hot out of the oven, the slices will shred. So the meat will stay together nicely. And then you have that time to make the gravy, plan your other side dishes. And here's another tip that sometimes extends the cooking time. Resist the temptation to open up that oven door when the turkey is cooking and show the guest and let that aroma out. Every time you open up the door, that lets out that precious oven heat and it can extend that cooking time.
Wow.
And there's no need to baste a Butterball turkey. It's already been deep basted. And really, if you're putting basting over the turkey, it's just running down into the pan. So it's not going into the meat anyways. And again, you're letting out that precious oven heat. So let the turkey roast and just look through the window.
Just look through the window, turn that light on. Okay, so let's talk about some crazy questions you have gotten over the years. I want to go through a series of them because we haven't even talked about fried turkeys yet. So when I remember when that whole phenomena started and it became like people were getting injured and it became... I was afraid to fry a turkey because I thought it was a risky attempt, But so let's go to, you've been doing this for 9 years. What are some of your favorite stories that you can share with us about that turkey hotline that you've received?
Well, there's definitely a couple that stick in my mind. One that I didn't field, but one of my fellow supervisors told me about was that a call came in. A family had just gotten a new oven, and they call us about oven problems too here at the Butterball Turkey Talk Line. Well, they put the turkey in the oven and set it to self-cleaning cycle. And that oven locked down and they could not open that door and they were panicked. They knew that that was going to burn up the turkey. So we were able to kind of talk them through and we figured it out together. But that was just a really funny one that was completely unique to that family.
Wow.
But you get the calls where as the season gets closer to Thanksgiving, the calls get more panicked. And people come home with this large turkey and they have all these side dishes in their refrigerator or all the fixings for Thanksgiving, and they don't know what to do with the large turkey. So they panic. One caller had called me. They had put it outside in the snow. Well, they didn't realize overnight it was going to snow, and I don't know what happened at their house, but they couldn't find the turkey the next morning. And then I guess eventually they did, but they were worried. They didn't know if it was still going to be safe. So they called us in a panic.
That's hilarious. Do you have a secret to finding turkey in the snow that we need to know about?
We must have helped them in some way.
Oh my gosh. Okay, what do you do when someone calls in a panic 8 a.m. on Thanksgiving Day and says, oh my gosh, I thought my turkey, it's a 24-pounder and it's not thawed. What do I do?
And we definitely get those calls.
You don't say, your response isn't order out, is it?
Depending how late in the day it might be. But we may talk to them about a plan B. Okay. The refrigerator thawing method is definitely preferred, but Butterball also recommends that you can do a cold water thawing method. It'll take a long time to thaw that 24-pound turkey, but if they have a smaller turkey, they could submerge the turkey in cold water in their sink, keep refreshing it. That will speed up the thawing process so they can just try to thaw it even a little bit before they roast it. We could also offer that they change plans and run out to the grocery store and get a fresh turkey, because that could be cooked right away.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, sometimes there's only so much you can do, right?
Right.
So What about fried turkeys? Okay, because like I said, people love it. People who love their turkey fry in the deep fat fryer say it's the most delicious, moist turkey they've ever had. What's the secret to doing that right, and what's the secret to not getting injured?
Oh, definitely. So that deep fried turkey, it cooks so fast, it just locks in the moisture and it is delicious. So there's a couple things. You have to work with the turkey that's relatively small, about 12 to 14 pounds. And you want to make sure that it's small so that when you're putting it into your deep fryer, the oil doesn't bubble over. So it's also important to make sure that you've done a displacement test. And that means to test and see how much oil you're going to need in your deep fryer. So I typically do that with water, and I like to do it the day before because you don't want any water or ice to be hitting that hot oil because it'll definitely splatter. So what you do is place your opened raw turkey in your deep fryer. You're going to fill it up with water just to cover the turkey. And you want to make sure you have a good headspace, at least 3 to 5 inches from the turkey to the top of your deep fryer. Then you can take your turkey out, drain all the water, and that's your level that you're going to put your oil. So you've just done a water displacement test to see how much oil you need. Go ahead and drain that turkey really well, pat it dry, use paper towels, really make sure that there's no water in the cavity. So then the next day, you're going to fill up your oil to that fill line. You're going to need to heat that oil. And depending on the weather, if you're in Chicago, it could take an hour and a half to heat up that oil. Nice and hot, 375 degrees Fahrenheit for that oil. And then when you're ready to put your turkey in, this is the most important part, just to make sure that there's no fires. You turn off the burner. That way, if any oil spills over, you don't have a flash of fire. So turn off your burner. And they always have handles. You'll put your turkey in your basket and you lower it slowly because, again, that's a cold turkey. It has some water and moisture, and you're putting it into hot oil. So it is going to froth a little bit and it might splatter. So you want to make sure you have gloves and sleeves, long sleeves on, and that burner is off until you get the turkey all the way lowered. Then you can put the burner back on. Those are the keys to making sure that you have a safe deep fried turkey.
Those are great tips. Very good tips. Thank you for that. Okay, if you had to lose one of the beige staples from your Thanksgiving meal, what are you giving up? Are you giving up the mashed potatoes? Are you giving up the stuffing? Or are you giving up the dinner rolls?
Oh, goodness, that's a hard one. I think I'd give up the dinner rolls because you have the stuffing, and I cannot have Thanksgiving without stuffing. So,
yeah. And that's we haven't even talked about stuffing versus the side dish stuffing, which stuffing or
like dressing.
Dressing, yeah. So, what do you prefer there?
Well, I love to put stuffing in the turkey because you're going to get some of the juices from the turkey that mix in with the stuffing, and it just makes such a wonderful flavor to it, and it just feels right. But a lot of people don't want to put the stuffing in the turkey, and that's completely fine. You could put it in a casserole dish, just maybe add a little broth to it just to give it a little moisture as you're putting it in the oven to heat it up.
Okay, so I have some fun rapid fire choice questions for you here, just so we can have a good time because we want to know what the expert thinks about these things. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, white meat or dark?
White meat.
White meat. Stuffing with sausage or stuffing without?
No sausage.
No sauce. Cranberries with nuts or without?
Cranberries without nuts.
Eating your Thanksgiving meal at lunchtime or dinner time?
Ooh, I don't mind a lunchtime meal so that you can relax the rest of the day.
And give your stomach kind of time to calm down and then eat again, right?
Right.
Okay. Watching football or watching the parade?
Oh, watching football. I'm a football fan.
Okay. What team?
Oh, we like the Steelers in our household.
Okay.
Sorry, Chicago.
You're allowed. Take an afternoon nap or wait for bedtime?
I'll wait for bedtime. I always love to go for a walk.
Nice. Paper plate or fine china?
Fine china. I like it to be a special meal.
Okay. Dress up or dress down?
Dress up.
Run a turkey trot or enjoy a slow morning?
Definitely enjoy a slow morning with a cup of coffee and get yourself ready for the day.
Pumpkin pie or sweet potato pie?
Pumpkin pie. It's my favorite.
Pumpkin pie. Okay, so I love this. You've given us so many great tips. If you want people to remember anything about Thanksgiving Day, and actually about making it as low stress as possible, what would you say is your best tip for that?
Well, definitely call 1-800-Butterball. You can talk to the experts at the Butterball Turkey Talk Line and call us early in the season. Plan ahead and relax. We're there to help. And no matter what, just enjoy that time with your family.
That's always a good tip. And really, you've shared some very fun stories. But is there one story that we can end with that? I mean, I'm not asking you to make fun of the people who call, but there has to be some ridiculous story that you have not shared with us. Come on, put it out there, Andrea. We want to know what it is.
Oh, definitely. The most ridiculous story that we have heard here at the Butterball Turkey Talk Line is the dad that was trying to help out. He had the kids in the bathtub, and he put the turkey in the bathtub to thaw while he was watching. He was just trying to do everything for his wife. He had the turkey in the bathtub, and then I think they realized maybe that wasn't such a good idea and gave us a call. Most ridiculous story.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you so much. This has been so much fun. And you've given us so many great tips. I can't wait to try my gravy following your recommendations. And first and foremost, have a happy Thanksgiving. Are you going to be working on Thanksgiving Day?
Yes, I'm going to be working on Thanksgiving Day, and then I host my Thanksgiving on Saturday. So have special family time then.
I love it. You are suffering to help others and then putting aside that and getting your family fed the following weekend. Great idea. Thank you again, Andrea. It was so fun talking to you. Happy Thanksgiving.
It's been my pleasure. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well.
This podcast is produced by Jennifer Waters. Original music and audio editing, Donnie Cutting. Promotions and marketing, Julie Loken and the Media Casters. Social media, Magali Blaisdell. Thanks for listening to the Supper with Sylvia podcast. If you like and would be so kind, please like, share, and tell a friend because we can't do this without your love and support. Thanks for listening.